If you met your future wife tomorrow, how long would it take you to know that she's the one? How long would it take her to know that you're the one? 17 days after meeting my wife for the very first time, I told her I was going to marry her. And no, she didn't file a restraining order. She actually told me that she already knew. I spent 3 years getting ready for her, and I want to share with you the 9 things that I did that prepared me to meet my wife. Number 1, I got around couples whose marriages I admired. I'll never forget meeting one of my first mentors for the very first time. I had been invited to a networking event, and he was the main speaker. And he was asked a question, why do you do what you do? And we're in New Jersey. He's from Atlanta. And so he's thousands of miles. I don't know if Atlanta's actually, I don't know how many miles away. I'm going to say thousands. Sure. Let's just assume it's multiple thousands. I think it's somewhere in like the 1,200 miles. That can't be right. Yeah, that's probably right. Long story short, his wife was hundreds, if not thousands of miles away back home. And this man in front of all these people says, everything that I do so I can be a full-time husband to the girl of my dreams and a full-time father to our kids. And I had never heard a man talk this good about his wife. And he went on and on about how she's his best friend. They do life together. They build business together. I had never heard a man speak like that about his wife, let alone when she's not in the room. So that was really what opened my eyes that a marriage like that was even possible, because I had been surrounded by divorce my entire life. And if they weren't divorced, they were miserable. I had never seen a good example of what a healthy marriage looked like. So after that, that sparked something in me where I started seeking out, okay, is this an anomaly, or are there other couples who have this type of marriage? And I found out, if you go looking for it, you find it. So I started chasing after couples who had what I like to call fruit on the tree. They had marriages that I wanted. And I would listen to their stories of how they got together. I especially loved listening to the wives of what drew their husband to them in the first place, so that I could start to replicate and duplicate that. It wasn't long after chasing a lot of these couples down was when I did number 2. I decided that marriage was for me. The book I read says a wife is a good thing, and that no good thing is kept away from he who does right. So I said, okay, as long as I do what's right, then my wife will not be withheld from me. I grew up around a lot of people who bashed marriage, who had a lot of negative things to say about marriage, usually their own. So this was very counterculture to what I was used to. But I decided once and for all, marriage is for me. And not just any marriage, but the marriages like I had seen in these couples that I was having my eyes opened by. So I decided, my wife is coming, period, case closed, and I left no room for doubt, which leads me to number 3. I set boundaries with marriage non-believers. A lot of this was my family. Love my family, but there's not a single couple in my family who hasn't gone through a divorce. So they didn't exactly have the results that I was after. And there's an important lesson there. If you want to be married, and if you're deciding that marriage is for you, just realize that whoever you take advice from, those are the results that you're going to have. So I set boundaries with people who didn't have the results that I wanted. It's not the easiest thing to do, but totally worth it. And by the way, if you want people to think you're crazy, start talking about your wife in the present tense when you don't even know her name yet. I refused to let anything that they had to say negative about marriage, or maybe they believed in marriage, but maybe they just didn't believe that I was going to find my wife the way that I was planning to, or that I was going to have the marriage that I now believe that I could have. Maybe they believed that I was just going to be a statistic and there were only a certain amount of things that I can control, and I can't control, if your wife's going to leave you one day. I shut the door on those things. I shut the door on those relationships, or at least put boundaries up where they no longer had a voice to speak into that area of my life. Because again, I decided that it was for me. This is for me. Number 4, I started doing husband things. I didn't wait for my wife to come to learn how to be a husband. Like I said, I was watching these men who, in my eyes, they had marriages that I wanted. They had wives who were so graceful and elegant and just wonderful partners and support that I wanted my wife to be. And I saw how the men were to their wives. And I said, okay, well, I can start to learn some of these things now. So some little things I would do, like making 2 cups of coffee every morning or putting the toilet seat down. There has never been an issue in my house with my wife of me leaving the toilet seat up. That is one of the most unrelatable things that she ever hears, because I practiced putting the toilet seat down for years before we even met, because I knew that eventually she was coming. So small things like that, or bigger things too. I started praying for her and over her. All of these husband things that I was starting to do, actually, when Alexis, my wife, and I eventually met, she thought that I was married because I was so convinced that my wife was coming, and I was talking about my wife in the positive present tense, that she thought that I was married. Little did she know that I was about to be to her. Number 5, I stopped bachelor behavior. This is the opposite of starting to do husband things. I stopped doing the bachelor things. The main thing here, I changed the way that I looked at women. I realized that if marriage is for me and my wife is coming, that means every woman I encounter is either the one woman on the planet who will be my wife, or she's not. Which means not only is she not my wife, but she's someone else's wife. So I changed the way, that shifted the way that I approached and that I behaved around women. I remember I went on a date. This was before I met my wife. I went on a date with a young lady, and I remember explaining to her right off the bat, I said to her, I don't know where this is going. This is, we're just getting to know each other. We find certain things attractive enough about each other to get to this date, but we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if this is it. Obviously it wasn't. But I remember telling her right off the bat, I said, I want to treat you in a way where if you and I don't end up together, I can still go to your wedding on your wedding day. I can still go to your wedding, shake your husband's hand and look him in the eyes and know that I treated you in such a way that he would respect and thank me for. Stopping bachelor behavior requires deciding not to be led by your emotions or your hormones or how good that girl looks. I had been led by those things many times and deceived by those things many times. I can't tell you, that makes it sound like it's a lot. There were a few times where I really started to question this girl that I'm dating, this girl that I'm pursuing. Can I see myself marrying her? And because of the emotion, because of how cute she was or whatever, I would start to talk myself into, yep, this could be it. This could be it. Stopping the bachelor behavior means that you no longer think like that. You no longer behave that way. Number 6, I built a few intentional friendships. This is kind of like setting boundaries with marriage non-believers, but the other side of it, I found a few guys who wanted the same thing as me. They wanted a successful, however way we saw success, but we wanted successful marriages. We wanted happy marriages. We wanted prosperous and vibrant and joyful marriages. So that's what we talked about. We weren't talking about, how cute that girl at church was. We were talking about our future wives anytime we were together. And that sharpening, that just rubbing shoulders with people like that kept me accountable. That kept me grounded, but it also kept me believing that, no, I'm not the only one who's believing for my wife. I'm not the only one who knows that she's coming. I'm not alone in this. Number 7, I spent intentional time alone. The difference between loneliness and being alone is intention. And I realized that I couldn't afford to waste the time until my wife got there and just sit around and do whatever. I had to use that time. I was a hot mess 3 years before meeting my wife. I had a lot of work to do. I knew for a long time that if she shows up tomorrow, I'm not ready. So I had to get really intentional about my alone time. I put the phone down and I picked up a book. I got unserious about football and got real serious about the future of our family. I stopped looking at the TV and I started looking in the mirror. And I really pressed in about, who do I need to become so that I'm ready for when she gets here? Number 8, I put myself in places where quality wives are found. With few exception, I don't want marriages where they met at a bar. Not saying it can't happen. That's just not statistically the place where the marriages that I look at and say, I want that. That's not their origin story. Almost every marriage that I looked at then and still look at now and said, I want that result, happened when the man was pursuing something that was bigger than him. Whether he was building a business or serving in a ministry, he was chasing a dream and he met her along the way. So I started putting myself in those places. I started attaching myself to men and couples who were going places. I started building businesses and serving in ministry and doing things where, okay, I said, if I put myself here for long enough, I'm gonna at least have options. My path is gonna collide with other people who are doing the same, who are going somewhere. And when you're chasing something, when you're pursuing a dream, when you're a part of something that's bigger than yourself, and you've sunk your teeth into it, what more real version of you is there for her to meet than that version? I wanted my wife to meet me when I was running, not when I was looking for her. And finally, number 9, I stayed ready for her arrival. A lot of people misconstrue what waiting is supposed to look like. They think it means just sit still, sit on your hands, and someone will wake you up when it's time. That's not waiting. I hear you. That's okay. That's okay. I'm on my last point. Okay. How are you going to do that quietly? That's funny. I heard like tink, 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 like, but it was like tink, tink. Were you like putting one in at a time? Good. I'm almost done. Real waiting is like hunting deer. You sit in that stand and you don't doze off. You don't close your eyes. You're not on your phone. You're not playing a video game. You are ready and aware of everything that's going on around you in anticipation for that deer to show up. Or another example is a waiter, or at least a good waiter or waitress. They're not waiting for the customer to come get them so that they can order. They're constantly looking around at their tables and saying, okay, who needs service now? That it's literally in the name, a waiter. They're waiting. A good waiter serves with the anticipation of his customer's needs. I was ready to serve, and I was anticipating my wife's needs whenever she showed up. I made sure that when she showed up, I wasn't going to let her pass me by, which is why 17 days after we met for the very first time, I told her that I was going to marry her, and why she also told me that she already knew, because she had got herself ready too. So don't waste your singleness. Invest it. It will be the least lonely and most rewarding thing that you could possibly do.